So,
Wow.
we've got some fun.
Yes.
And I've been talking with Glenn Kelleway, who sat here talking about mortgages, and we've had some fun because we've talked about restoring credit. And do you know anybody else that went bankrupt that had so much fun with it?
No, I have not heard of or encountered anyone else that has had the beneficial effect of going bankrupt and then getting half the stuff back.
Oh, well, no, going bankrupt, I mean, for the tax office put me into receivership.
Yep.
And
you have to explain the timing on getting your assets into Josie's name. Because otherwise it looks like fraud.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, why would I be talking about it like this if it was fraud? They served me, or the tax office went after me in 1985.
Yes.
So in 1985, when they started that, I gave Josie the house, the sailboat, the motorhome, and the business. I gave the business to our employees because she had no knowledge of the business at that time. She ended up owning it and running it, but that's beside the point. And I did it because it's illegal to put your house in your wife's name to avoid bankruptcy or to avoid tax bills or anything else. Okay, you're not supposed to do that. Now, you can sell it to her for fair market value, and if she pays fair market value, that's fine. But you'll appreciate that on October the 2nd, 1985, we were in a real estate down to the bottom. The house had a $156,000 mortgage on it, and Lionel Lawrence, one of the #1 realtors in North Vancouver, had had the house listed for 3 months for $150,000 and hadn't had a taker. So when I gave it to Josie, I gave her the rights to the house, and she assumed a $156,000 mortgage. Okay?
Yep.
There was an $80,000 mortgage on it when they actually put me into receivership. So but it was hers.
Yep.
Okay? The motorhome, which was a $110,000 motorhome new, and was worth, and I had paid $55,000 for it, we got a written appraisal that at the very most it was worth $6,000, but because it had signs all over it, you've seen it.
Yes.
It would cost $10,000 to take the signs off and repaint it properly.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I wouldn't give you $1,000 for it. And this was from a big league motorhome dealer, guy that sells 300 motorhomes a year. Impeccable opinion. So Josie took the motorhome over. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
With a $10,000 outstanding loan on it. So she paid $10,000 for a motorhome that was worth $1,000. But for us as a family, to us it was worth more because it had advertising on it, right?
Yep.
Same with the sailboat. She took the sailboat over at $25,000 with $27,000 owing against it. And the appraised value was $25,000 from a proper broker and everybody else. We'd actually sold it for $50,000, and the guy that bought it and had a binding agreement subject to an inspection came back and said, look, it needs $25,000 worth of stuff on it. I'll only give you $25,000 for it. So Josie took it over with the 20. So she owned everything. By the time they put me bankrupt, the motorhome had been paid for, the sailboat had been paid for, but they're all used and old and stuff. The house had gone up in value another few $100,000, and the business had gone to the employees because I couldn't deal with it. And then the employees, like 6 years later, in 93, and from 95 to 85 to 93, 8 years later, the employees abandoned it back to Josie, and she took it over. And I was just the Colonel Saunders, the chief factotum. So that's how we ended up with Josie owning everything legitimately, legally, under Section 160 of the Tax Act and under the Bankruptcy Act and everything else. But the tax office, and I had actually written letters to the tax office telling them about the house and about the motorhome and about the sailboat and everything. A guy named Pattison had come out and checked it all, said, that's okay. Yep. And they lost track because they thought that they were going to get all this stuff when they put me into bankruptcy. As it is, they spent $300,000 and got just about zero. Anyway, so that's how that happened, and it's a good story, and it works, and it's fun, and everything was done legally, morally. It made me a little fat, but that's beside the point. That's because I ate too much, so I didn't have any worries anymore. But I could have gone bankrupt any day for 17 years. All I had to do was walk into any bankruptcy trustee, sign a piece of paper, and I didn't know anything anymore.
Yep.
I was stubborn. I was happy. My wife had everything. I owed the government $5 million. When you owe the government $5,000, that's your problem. When you owe them $5 million, it's their problem.
Their problem.
It's their problem. So I didn't care. And then this nice man named Lee Cromer decided he was going to get me, and he gave me my freedom. Because if he hadn't put me into bankruptcy, when Josie left on the motorcycle, I would not have gotten anything.
It would not have worked out as well as it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
so
good.
on that basis, and I don't know how you're going to put this on. Are we going to put this on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, maybe we'll keep this as a privileged little thing. You only got to see it if you were live on the air. No, we'll put it up. Put it up. It was fun. It's a good story. It's fun.
One thing I want to...
Because how romantic can you be than to ride away on the back of a Harley with the guy fixing the sun deck, right?
You know, it's...
Leave your poor bankrupt husband...
Oh, my face is hurting.
By laughing too much?
Well, the first time I heard that, I knew a little bits of it, but you put it so eloquently, just saying, well, we went through the bankruptcy,
the best thing that ever happened to me.
My wife and the back of the Harley, and you sort of get the sunset thing there, and you're sitting there, and then all of a sudden, magically, half the stuff showed up back in your name. So.
Well, that was the other problem. You see, that Josie had a lawyer that said that she was going to get it all, and apparently there's various opinions as to whether it was 11 lawyers or 4 lawyers told Josie she was going to get it all. The day before we went to trial, we offered 50-50, and they didn't take it. So we wasted another $50,000 in court fighting it, and but they all missed the fact that I'd owned everything in the first place. Mm-hmm. And the bankruptcy was finished, and therefore, under the Marriage and Family Relations Act of the province of BC, I'm entitled to, and I was the caretaker father. I had the kids, and she was off in Guatemala with the boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And
50-50, or thereabouts.
Yeah, it was better than that, actually. Anyway, making a long story short, that's the end of the day, and it's the first time I've told this on air. But I think it's fun. And Josie stayed here for a week last week, or 2 weeks ago. And
you're in good terms with a lot of your exes.
Oh, yeah, but December 10th, I'm going to have a party and invite all my exes and their present boyfriends or husbands to come, and we'll have a party. Celebrate 40 years.
Yeah. When
you and Shirley can come, Richard.
Yeah.
December 10th.
Yeah. When